The Rivian R2 is finally real. It's smaller, it's cheaper, and it's arguably the most important car Rivian will ever build. But is it actually a game changer or just a low-budget R1S for people who can't afford the big one? We've dug through the specs to find the truth and have come up with the top 5 things you need to know. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for number 5 because we're literally going to sleep on the roof. Let's start with the number that actually matters: price. The R2 is expected to start around $45,000, and that single figure changes everything for Rivian. For context, the R1S starts just under $80,000, and once most buyers option it the way they want, it starts affecting retirement timelines. But if Rivian can truly hit that $45K mark, it takes them from a niche adventure brand for tech bros in Patagonia vest to a genuine mainstream automaker. At this price, it becomes a legitimate alternative for Model Y buyers, CR-V hybrid shoppers, and RAV4 owners who are EV curious, but not $1,000 a month curious. Of course, the big question is whether Rivian actually keeps that price by the time R2 starts showing up in the driveways. EV startups have a long history of announcing one number and delivering another. A big reason Rivian believes it can pull this off is what CEO RJ Scaringe calls robust simplicity. In corporate speak, that usually means they removed the cool expensive stuff so they don't go bankrupt. Scaringe says the team went through every part of the car, bolts, brackets, everything, and seriously questioned whether each piece actually needed to be there. That's a major shift from the R1 platform's complex engineering. The R2 is designed to be easier to build, service, and own long-term. And it'll be built at Rivian's Normal, Illinois plant. Fewer overcomplicated parts should mean fewer failures, lower repair cost, and less time at service centers. Inside, the R2 goes minimalist, but without sacrificing usability or common sense. The interior is genuinely impressive for the price point, and it does a really good job of mimicking the look and feel of the R1S without dragging the cost along with it. Materials feel solid, the design is clean, and everything looks intentional rather than stripped. This is a 5-passenger SUV, and Rivian leaned hard into flexibility and storage. The R2 includes 2 glove boxes, one traditional and another located centrally, along with pull-out cup holders and a drawer-style compartment sized for a tissue box. Yes, a tissue box, a small detail that comes from real customer feedback. Despite its compact exterior, rear seat space is surprisingly generous. There's ample room for knees, legs, and headroom, and a large all-glass roof helps the cabin feel even more open and airy. Thanks to its EV layout, there's no drive shaft tunnel running through the cabin, so the rear floor stays flat and the middle seat is actually usable. The cargo area continues the R2's theme of smart, practical packaging. You get underfloor storage, side compartments, and household-style power outlets that make the space genuinely useful, not just big on paper. With the rear seats folded flat, the floor becomes one long flat surface that's surprisingly spacious. It's long enough for taller adults to actually sleep back there, and they'll even sell you a mattress designed specifically to fit the cargo area. According to Rivian, the space can accommodate a 95th percentile American-sized adult male laying flat. This is both a strangely specific claim and also pretty impressive. One of the standout features is the power-operated rear window that rolls down independently of the tailgate, a first for Rivian, and a move that longtime Toyota 4Runner fans will instantly appreciate. A quick tap on the 3 subtle lines on the exterior drops the glass, letting you toss into a surfboard or a few warped 2x4s from Home Depot without opening the full hatch. It's simple, practical, and exactly the kind of feature you didn't know you wanted until it's there. And finally, there's Rivian's Halo roller haptic system on the steering wheel. 2 haptic wheels handle an impressive range of functions, with clear prompts shown on the instrument panel so you're never guessing. You can roll, tilt, or press them to control audio, climate, cruise control, drive modes, and even mirror and steering adjustments. It sounds complex, but it quickly becomes second nature. The haptic feedback changes based on what you're adjusting, so it always feels intuitive. Inspired by gaming controllers, it's tactile, smart, and refreshingly easy to use. Proof that modern tech doesn't have to be annoying to feel advanced. On the outside, the R2 manages to look unmistakably Rivian without being oversized or cartoonish. Compared to the R1S, it's about 15 inches shorter in length, 4 inches narrower, and nearly 11 inches shorter in height. It may not look like it at first glance, but the R2 is roughly the same size as the Tesla Model Y, which makes it far more livable in cities and garages. That boxy shape is entirely deliberate. Rivian didn't want the fast teardrop or jellybean profile that defines so many modern EVs. Existing owners loved the R1S's upright, squared-off look, and the R2 keeps that identity intact. It looks like an actual SUV, capable, confident, and refreshingly honest about it. Underneath, the R2 backs that look up. It has a pan-flat bottom, 9.6 inches of ground clearance, a 25-degree approach angle, 26-degree departure angle, and a 20.6-degree breakover angle. Numbers that quietly remind you this isn't just a tall hatchback pretending to be adventurous. The R2 is also fully unibody and substantially lighter than the R1S, shedding over 2,000 pounds according to Rivian. A 2025 dual-motor R1S we tested last year back weighed about 6,850 pounds, which puts the R2 around 4,850 pounds or less. That weight reduction improves efficiency, ride quality, and responsiveness without needing a massive battery. Despite the large dose of Ozempic, you still get heavy-duty tow hooks, available 20-inch wheels with all-terrain tires, and enough real-world capability to justify the rugged styling, even if most of these will never see anything rougher than a gravel driveway or a Tractor Supply parking lot. Performance is where the R2 casually reminds everyone that it's still very much a Rivian. Dual-motor versions are targeting 656 horsepower and over 600 pound-feet of torque, which is borderline ridiculous for a compact SUV that's supposed to be affordable. Rivian is estimating a 0 to 60 time of around 3.5 seconds, which means this thing exposes fake tough guys in Mustangs. Range is expected to be over 300 miles, and charging is handled through a NACS connector, which is quickly becoming the default standard in the US. Rivian says the R2 will charge from 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes, which is competitive even though it's built on a 400-volt architecture rather than an ultra-expensive 800-volt system. That decision keeps costs down while still delivering real-world usability. There's no adaptive air suspension like the R1S, and that's very much on purpose. Air suspension is cool, but it's expensive, complex, and not something most buyers truly need. For the small percentage of owners who actually plan to off-road, the R2 should still be more than capable. And for everyone else, it means fewer things to break and fewer warning lights to Google. And finally, we get to the most Rivian thing on this list, the accessories. Yes, there's a factory rooftop tent for the R2, because of course there is. It integrates directly with the vehicle and includes climate vents, USB-C ports, and built-in lighting, turning the R2 into a legitimately comfortable camping setup without extra gear. Beyond the tent, Rivian is leaning into a full outdoor ecosystem, including a projection screen for movie nights and a power adapter that plugs into the charge port to provide household outlets for appliances, tools, or campsite gear. Will most owners use all of this? Well, probably not, but that's not the point. The R2 manages to stay simpler, cheaper, and more mainstream, while still keeping the adventure-first DNA that made Rivian interesting in the first place. If Rivian gets this right, the price, the quality, the timing, the R2 won't just be another EV SUV. It'll be the vehicle that finally proves Rivian belongs in the mainstream conversation. And if nothing else, it might be the only compact SUV that lets you sleep on the roof with climate control, which feels very on-brand. Thanks for watching, and let us know what you think of the Rivian R2. Is this finally the Rivian that makes sense? Or are you waiting to see how pricing and real-world range shake out? If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe, because we've got more Rivian content on the way, including deeper dives and real-world comparisons. We'll see you in the next one.